less than 1 week, the first votes will be cast in election 2019, and the question on everyone's mind, of course, is how India will vote. Now, we've broken down where the three major blocks of parties, that is the BJP plus, the Congress plus, and the others, stand at this point in a SWOT analysis that we've put together, where we'll go over the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats of these three blocks of parties. Meanwhile, there are also another set of opinion polls which have come about in the last week or so, and we'll be analyzing all of that as well. Helping me doing all of that today is Madhavan, Narayanan, political analyst. I'm also speaking to Manu Sharma from S.W.O.T. Welcome to both of you. Let's first go across what we've put together before I come to you, Madhavan and Manu Sharma. And I want to start with the BJP plus, where we've looked at the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats of the BJP and its allies at this point. The biggest strength, of course, is Prime Minister Modi. Modi all the way. And that is what is pushing them forward. The weakness, in a sense, and the threat, in a sense, is also the over-dependence on Modi. What do you make of this, Madhavan, Narayanan?
I think it's becoming quite clear, especially after the last 10 days of campaigning and the shrill pitch on everything from, Modi's remarks on Rahul's Wayanad campaign and contesting elections. This is at least in northern India, this is a polarized election. And Modi as an individual in a leadership sort of a way is becoming, being posed as a question. It's as if there's a Tina factor that is being worked in by the BJP consciously and aided by the Balakot kind of airstrikes. And there's been a systematic whipping up of national security and patriotism-oriented sentiments. And from what it appears, it's working in the north. And therefore, it seems to me that the north is much easier to understand than the south or the rest of the country, on which I would rather wait for some meaningful trends to emerge. I'm still not buying the story that Modi goes anywhere beyond the Vindhyas with the same personality, influence, and winnability as he does in the north.
Yeah, so that was the point of the strength of the BJP. The weakness of the BJP, the way we looked at it, is the issue of jobs and rural distress. Now, Manu Sharma, S.W.O.T, of course, has been doing a weekly tracker. There have been a host of polls in the last week or so, and most of them show the BJP plus, or the NDA, comfortably coming up to 272 or over it. Your poll pegs them at about 260 or so. I want to talk about these weaknesses that we've identified, which is jobs and rural distress. Is there enough of a counter right now from the BJP to negate this impact?
Well, when it comes to the weaknesses or the perceived weaknesses that the BJP carries into the elections, we have to understand that an economic or socio-economic indicator or an event cannot become a focus of anger against a leader unless and until there is a narrative to it. And allow me to explain this. So, for example, we may say there is rural distress, we may say there is unemployment, and it's been reflected in our tracker for about good 2 years. But is the electorate ascribing this unemployment or rural distress against Modi, to Modi? Now, that is the question. Yes, certain things are wrong with the country. There have been a few hits and a few misses when it comes to the policy arena. But the question is, are people willing to forgive the Prime Minister for that? Are they willing to say, okay, well, they were well-intentioned failures? Or do they think that, no, he has betrayed our trust and we should punish him? Now, that's where the question becomes complicated. Yes, these weaknesses exist. Yes, these phenomenon exist. But to say that they have become a focus of anger against the Prime Minister would be a stretch as of now. So it's a complicated situation whereby things are not as rosy as the BJP would like to convey and portray. But at the same time, the anger generated out of these is not really being directed against the BJP.
The opportunity really for the BJP lies in how disjointed the opposition is at this point, and the threat that we have identified to the BJP is the over-reliance of Modi. I want to come on that part to Madhavan Narayanan. There was an interview that Amit Shah has done recently, in which he was quoted as saying that there are no, other MPs fighting this election. From every seat, it is Modi. Every MP actually represents Modi, and the fight and the election is for the next Prime Minister and to bring back Modi. That shows the kind of over-reliance that could possibly backfire, or do you think that the BJP has no other choice at this point?
I kind of like the way you framed the question, although it seems like a loaded question. The fact is that Amit Shah is going for broke with Modi, and so much so that his own rally in Gandhinagar, in the backdrop of Advani backing out and Gadkari emerging as a possible number 2 in the event of any coalition difficulties for BJP, goes to show that Amit Shah as a person is going for Modi, and he's trying to make it not even a BJP versus the rest, he's trying to make it Modi or nothing. It's a sort of a winner takes all or nothing, Modi is everything. What is the gist of the issue? Cut through the thing and you see that is essentially what I call the presidentialization of a parliamentary election. And that is not something that's going to happen. Let's look at it objectively. If you've been looking at it state by state, you will find that there are huge trends across India beyond the Hindi belt. Please remember, beyond the Hindi belt. In Odisha, there is Naveen Patnaik. In Andhra Pradesh, there is YSR Congress. In Tamil Nadu, the game is wide open with Stalin racing his profile is in DMK. And in Telangana, we know KCR is there. In Kerala, in West Bengal, there is Mamata. These are leaders who are tremendously strong in their respective zones. So it's a very northern way of looking at things, that it's Modi or the rest. This is an election in which this is not the United States of America. Even there, you have had a Florida kind of syndrome. In India, it's much more. Therefore, let us not confuse Amit Shah's wishful thinking with the objective reality of India.
So, this is an important point, because we did that breakup for the Congress and for the others as well. And I was going to go to the Congress next, but I'm going to go to the others, taking off from the point that Madhavan Narayanan made. And you're absolutely right that there is a whole block of strong regional parties and strong regional leaders who are, as of now, non-Congress and non-BJP. And there, we're coming to you with some of those details. And this is how we've broken it up. So their strength is, like Madhavan Narayanan said, that they have regional strongholds. So Mamata right now is unshakable in West Bengal, even with the BJP bearing down. Everyone is predicting at least 30-32 seats for her in West Bengal. The same with Naveen Patnaik, with KCR. So they're strong leaders. But their weakness is that there is no coherent plan or clear leader among them. They're scattered. On the other hand, an opportunity for them would have been to project a common front, maybe a common manifesto of sorts, so that people know what they collectively stand for, and there's no vagueness about them coming together one way or the other after the elections. The threat for all of these leaders is like what we saw in 2014. Modi majority makes them irrelevant. In 2014, even Mamata Banerjee and Jaya Jayalalitha managed to, protect their bastions from the Modi wave. But in the bigger picture, it didn't mean much. Simply because, the BJP had such an astounding majority. They couldn't do much with those numbers. I want to come to Manu Sharma on the point of the others, because that's the big question mark in this election, isn't it? How much the others gain could perhaps decide the shape and form of the next government.
Definitely. I mean, if this election, were to be lost by the BJP, the road to victory for the opposition does not lie through the Congress lands. It lies through the others' lands. But over here, I would like to temper this line of thought with the fact that in Odisha, Naveen Patnaik is not performing as strongly as was the case in the past. I mean, we might actually be surprised by the BJP performance there. In West Bengal, yes, BJP is trying to catch up, but Mamata Banerjee seems to be holding on. So overall, it's no longer a case of BJP and Modi only being a north and a western phenomena, because I think we are leaving out Western India in our debate so far. It's only being north and east. So in east and northeast, no matter how we slice and dice it, BJP is becoming a force. Question is, how much of that vote share would convert into seat share? And I think that is where ultimately this election would be decided, because there would be some amount of natural anti-incumbency in the Hindi belt seats, which the BJP continues to hold. They will have some losses there, and they will try to make up in the newer territory of East and Northeast. And basically that equation will settle this election, I think, in the end.
Yeah, no, Northeast itself is 25 seats. We've been talking about Odisha, and which is why I'm happy to welcome Amitabh Tiwari on the show as well. He has been, camping out in Odisha over the last few days. And doing work over there. Amitabh is a political commentator and contributor to Bloomberg Quint. Amitabh, what is the scenario in Odisha? I don't know if you heard some of that conversation, but it was being discussed about how much of an inroad the BJP could make in Odisha, and is Naveen Patnaik still holding sway in the state?
BJP is getting traction in the state. Modi's rallies have drawn crowds. And people, compared to 2004, more and more people know about Modi. In 2014, people had not seen Modi much. But this time, because of Ujjwala gas connections and his pictures across petrol pumps in the state, people do recognize him. The issue with Odisha is that simultaneous elections gives an edge to Naveen Patnaik. When a person goes to vote and he has to press two buttons, in the past, we've seen the trend that most people press the same two buttons. So though BJP has been making inroads, because of simultaneous elections, the MLAs make up the MP in a sense. And that is why, despite gaining traction, BJP might not be able to get the seats which are being projected by the opinion polls. And I can stick my neck out and say this. But if it gets 12 to 14 seats on an average, which opinion polls are predicting, then it is likely to form the state government as well.
Oh, that's interesting. And for those of you who want some more in-depth analysis on Odisha, Amitabh Tiwari has done a piece which is available on BloombergQuint.com. So I would direct you to read that there as well. Madhavan, let's come back to the bigger picture, and there are some inputs from the ground from Amitabh on Odisha. Let's come to how the Congress stacks up right now. And I want to go back to the SWOT we've done to take up the Congress story. The biggest strength right now for the Congress seems to be their promise for Nyay, which is a scheme which guarantees 72,000 rupees a year for families in the bottom 20% of the pyramid, and they have a 12,000 rupee per month cutoff to identify those people. So that's their top strength. The Hindi heartland wins they had in Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh and Rajasthan have improved their perception at the very least, because before these wins it was seeming like they stood nowhere in this picture. Let's look at the weaknesses that the Congress faces. There's no clear counter to Modi and Rahul Gandhi's leadership. I've put that in the weakness block, looking at the fact that there has been a sea change in his confidence and the things that the party has done. But at this point, does he seem like a match for Modi? The fact that it's still a question shows that it's a weakness. The opportunity could be in Priyanka Gandhi Vadra, and we'll come to this point in a bit, talking about whether she's being underutilized by the Congress right now. The big threat, of course, is the big brother attitude, where we're a cut above the rest as far as other political opposition parties go. That's causing them troubles in forming alliances and seat sharing, so on and so forth. Madhavan, I want you to come in on the quick analysis we've done of where the Congress party stands right now.
I think I'm glad you listed all these points together. Let's take them quickly one by one, and I'll be able to give you my views accordingly. See, Priyanka Gandhi, if I may take that, she's been a good morale booster at some level to the party cadres. Let us not confuse them with voters. So that is still a work in progress. The second big setback is that Priyanka Gandhi, as I had expected and even written for Bloomberg Quint, has not been able to stitch up a major alliance in UP East, which is what her zone is. If you recall, the big setback to the opposition this week is that the Nishat party has joined hands with the BJP. The man who won Gorakhpur is now in BJP. The man who destroyed the iconic pocket borough of, the symbolic pocket borough of Yogi Adityanath is now in BJP's fold. And therefore, that is a setback number 2. Third point, the manifesto released 3 days ago is very strong, and definitely Congress is back in the game as a national force in the medium term, because they have definitely given a Congress 2.0 version. But the time is too short, and you were posing it as a leadership election, but it would be walking into Modi's trap for Congress if they were making it a leadership-based election, because Modi's towering oratory is certainly a strong point. So the real question is, are the promises in the manifesto and the issues raised by Congress good enough to translate into votes? Now, there are 2 points here. One is that the cadres do not have enough time to convert this into booth-level action, and that is certainly a setback for the Congress, although the sheer numerical draw of 12,000 rupees a month or 6,000 rupees a month, and some of the other positives, including the Kisan-related, the farmer-related promises, are not something that I would dismiss off as empty promises or unworkable, because Congress has done a hell of a lot of good work in doing the homework on the manifesto. The problem is that if it had released this manifesto early, BJP or Modi might have countered it a bit more. What they have done is, in cricketing terms, they've played a late cut. They're waiting for the ball to come, let Modi define the national security narrative, and then coming up with a socio-economic populism as an alternative. I do not rule out it making a positive impact across the country, but not so much in the Hindi belt. This is my gut feel. It is, but I have to also mention that I keep going back to Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh. If, as Manu Sharma says, BJP does gain in Odisha and then manages to swing back Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan from where it was in the assembly election phase, then we are really looking at some of your opinion polls which have been brought out to be justifiable. Otherwise, I see them as propaganda polls. Therefore, I think it's very important to understand how much in the non-irrigation based rural hinterland of India, the manifesto of the Congress really reaches through to the booth level. So I'm afraid I do not have sufficient data on how the Congress cadres are working on this. And unless that happens in the next few days, Congress is still on a weak wicket.
Amitabh, let me bring you in to the broader conversation. We've been having 1 week to go for the first votes to be cast, and we're trying to look at who stands where. Now, if I bring into this conversation the polls that we've seen over the last few days, and we'll show you that graphic, the average of all the polls which have been put out, most of them are showing the BJP at the forefront, with not too much of trouble to actually form the government. In fact, I think it's SWOT which shows BJP at 264. Everyone else or all the other polls that we have recently show them comfortably above 272 or close enough. What is your sense? And I know that polls can be a tricky terrain right now. They're so commoditized that they become even less believable than they were earlier. But just using this as an indication, do you think this is a fair reflection of the mood on the ground?
See, this election is actually a very waveless election in that sense. So it's not a 2014 election. So neither I'm in Bhubaneswar, I've traveled to states like MP, Chhattisgarh. There's not much craze about the elections on the streets till now. Ultimately what has happened is that because of a divided opposition, Congress did not form strategic alliances in states with regional parties. And you've interviewed Kapil Sibal, I think, when he mentioned that Congress wants to retain its position as the number 2 entity after BJP. And that is what the polls are showing. If you see across polls, the difference between INC and others is very less. In some polls, others are more. In other polls, Congress is more. So what Congress has done is that in its desire to be number 2, so as to get a chance to lead a coalition, like in 2004, has not entered into alliances in key states. UP, for example, whatever people were saying earlier, and we have debated this earlier as well, the entry of Congress in UP actually is damaging Mahagathbandhan, and the fact that the votes are not that easily transferable. We have reports from grounds across polls, and other journalists also who are visiting are quoting numbers of 45-50 for BJP in UP. So if it is able to get 50 seats in UP, then it is in the hot seat to form the government. Mind you, what happens is that none of the opinion polls were able to predict a UP sweep. None of the opinion polls were able to predict even the 2014 massive sweep which BJP got, because the samples tend to be biased towards the urban audience. So what is in the mood, or what is the rural voter thinking? Ultimately, some 340, 350 odd seats are rural seats. So what is the move there? Do they still believe Modi can solve their problems, or has done enough in the past 5 years to solve their problems? And whom do they go and vote for? So that is the key here in these elections, I think.
Yeah, I'm going to toss that straight to the pollster on the panel, Manu Sharma, and ask him what he thinks about that. I didn't mean to offend anyone by saying that polls are commoditized right now, but you would admit they are, because it's being driven by this huge demand of news channels, broadcasting, etc. Which is why the question about their efficacy. Another thing, Manu Sharma, which I have noticed when I've had the opportunity to go out and talk to people, that the moment people have to officially, formally, or on camera tell you what they think, they're more careful. And they hesitate to actually reveal what they think. And I'm sure this is a problem you face on the ground even more.
Okay, so addressing your second question first. See, we've been in this business for about 25 years now. And whenever our correspondents or our callers reach out to people, the moment they take our name as SWOT, generally we found that the response rate is pretty good. Like, I can share that in our case, in India, we get a response rate of at times of about 55 to 65%. And the same response rate for, let us say, when we poll for the US polls, because we also cover the US presidential polls, can drop down to only about 8%. So in India's case, I think for us as an agency, we find that our name opens up the roads. I cannot say for others, like, what they are kind of facing, number one. The second bit about the commoditization of polls, I really can't comment on, pretty much every poll under the sun. But, if you look at the few names which have been consistently in the market, for, I think, n number of years, you will see there are only about, a handful of companies or research agencies which are there, and they've been there, and, their track record is there for all to see. Now, the question about the 2004 or, polls getting it right or wrong, I think that's more of a statistical question. And allow me to explain this, that pollsters and their polling mechanism is designed to calculate the vote share. In a Westminster system, the conversion of vote share into seat share is not exactly a scientific method. You have to deploy reckonings, you have to deploy some internal models and, estimation mechanisms, and then you arrive at a seat share. And SWOT, that's why, is a very conservative pollster. That is, whenever we see or deduce a definitive vote share lead, we tend to pick up a conservative seat estimate, whereas other pollsters tend to deploy what is called the snowballing technique. That is, if they find that a party is leading, they tend to believe that there would be bandwagoning of, voters one after the other due to word of mouth thing, and they would win disproportionately. So that's why you have, sometimes X agency coming in and predicting an outrageous number of seats and getting that right.
I understand that. Let's not go into more detail, because that's a broader point. If you can come very quickly on the point of how things stand right now.
So that's why you will find a range of seat options, when you look at the polls in the market. However, I think the direction of the polls as of now is clear, that BJP has a lead and the NDA has a lead. The question is, how big is that lead and how comfortable is that lead? For example, if there is an error margin of 5 to 10% or even more of the seats, and BJP or the NDA hits its lower end, and the UPA and others hit their upper end, then what happens? So I think the buffer is the key here, that what kind of a buffer are these polls suggesting between the opposition and the incumbent party?
Absolutely. And also, let's remember, the first votes are on April 11, but this is a long election. The last phase is on 19th May, and a lot can happen in those many weeks to come. But this is how the picture stands at this point, with the BJP plus ahead. The Congress and its allies definitely neck to neck with the other parties, and those permutations and combinations with even a small change can truly change the picture. Thank you so much to all of you for joining us on the show today, and thank you so much for watching.